In this video, we are going to talk about how to reduce office drama in your medical practice by using the Enneagram personality test. My name's Meredith, and this is the Meredith Callagher Show, where we talk about marketing strategy for busy doctors. I believe that hope is not a strategy. Everybody needs to put a plan in place for success. Yes, I did say that this is a marketing channel and that we're talking about personality test for managing your office. I'm veering a little outside of my lane, but that's all right. I've recently learned about the Enneagram test, and I think that my doctor community is going to love learning about it because I know that you all have some office tension going on. You've got some great, smart team members, and that always happens, right? So I can't wait to share this personality test that I've recently taken with my partner, and we're super excited to implement what we've learned from the Enneagram personality test on our team. And I thought you'd love to hear about it too. So let me back up and give you the Enneagram test basics. The Enneagram is a personality test that's ancient. It's historical. In fact, experts are inconclusive where it came from. There are studies that go back hundreds of years on the Enneagram. It is a tool. It is not psychology. It is a tool just like astrology or Myers-Briggs, but there is something that sets Enneagram apart that makes it, I think, interesting, even to scientific people like you doctors. The Enneagram personality test is driven internally, not externally like astrology or where the stars aligned, but it's driven by our motivations and our fears. You cannot type someone else. You can't read the Enneagram types and say, oh, my husband's definitely a 9, my business partner is a 2. No, each individual has to type themselves. So there are a variety of tests out there, and I'll link below some recommended tests that are supposed to be very thorough. The Enneagram personality test gives us insights into what drives us and what motivates us, and then lets us have compassion for our own personality and awareness, which lets us sort of evolve. And it also gives us compassion for others. When you learn someone else's Enneagram number, now remember that you can't decide what it is for them. They have to type themselves, but once they tell you, it can be really amazing for relationships. If there's a behavior that's super frustrating to you and you just can't understand why someone does something that is so annoying to you over and over again, when you learn their Enneagram number and you can understand why they're doing it, like what fear is causing them to act that way or what's motivating them to act that way, it really does shift from annoyance to compassion or almost endearment, right? When you realize that someone's acting in a certain fear, you really can feel love towards them instead of annoyance. It's pretty amazing. So I think you can see why this could really help decrease some drama in your medical practice. I've identified 3 major benefits of why you should introduce the Enneagram personality test to your medical practice, but there might be a lot more. The first is obvious. If everyone can learn their own Enneagram number and then learn each other's and the kind of personality traits and the motivations that you can expect from that number, then they really can gain compassion for each other, and it'll cut down on that drama. Second, selfishly, as a leader, I think it might be great if your team can learn what motivates and drives you. I think you can help calm down maybe the backlash against the boss talk if they understand what's motivating and driving you to make the decisions that you make. And third, it's just fun. It's fun as a break to maybe take the Enneagram personality test together and see the results of one another, right? I think that you might look like a cool and kind of evolved leader if you tell everyone in the office that you'd really like for them to take the time to learn a little bit about themselves so that you can have a nicer place, an environment for them to work. Brownie points, right? So how does this work exactly? Well, you'll ask each person in your office to take an Enneagram personality test. I will link below the test I took. It cost $12, and it was actually on the Enneagram Institute website. So super official, right? And I'd ask them to do that maybe on their own time at home. It takes about 30 to 40 minutes. You get your result immediately. When you're given that number, you read through the description of it, and you also want to read through the description of the 8 other numbers, and you get to choose. choose. You decide which one resonates with you. And I think it's easiest to figure that out by looking at the description of the fears of each number and the desires of each number. And then you just name yourself. If that test tells you one number, you're allowed to decide that you're another number, and no one can argue with that because each person picks their own number. The Enneagram is based on this circle here. Today, since we're beginning Enneagrammers, we're not going to worry about all those lines and arrows. We're just going to concentrate on each of the 9 numbers. And I think that's all you have to do to really find this a useful tool within your small business. I think that these descriptions will really help you understand why the Enneagram test can be so powerful. Plus, it's fun. You can start maybe imagining which number you might be. Type 1 is the reformer. Their basic fear is to be evil or defective or corrupt in some way. And their basic desire is to be good. Type 1 is the quintessential rule follower. They really want to have integrity, and they want to make sure that it's important to them that they're seen as being someone that has integrity and that is a good person. Type 2 is the helper. Their basic fear is to be undesired or unworthy of love, and their basic desire is to feel love. This type is the lover, and they love relationships, they love intimacy, they love to help people and serve people. Their sort of cup is filled when they're helping others. This is the first person in the office that's going to ask about your kids and your weekend, and they really want to know how it was, but they also would like for you to ask them about their weekend and how they're doing. They like to know that they're being seen. Type 3 is the achiever. Their basic fear is being unworthy, and their basic desire is success, is to feel worthy. This is the high achiever. Oftentimes, it's a leader, it's an entrepreneur, it's a goal setter and goal getter. This person really responds well when you give them a goal. They want to exceed your expectations, and they want to be recognized for it. They really like to know that you admire them, that you maybe even need them. They like to feel needed. Type 4 is the individualist. Their basic fear is that they don't have an identity, that they don't have significance, and their basic desire is for significance, to find themselves. These people feel a little different. They feel like maybe there's something that sets them apart for everybody else, which is sort of feels like a burden, so they're trying to find themselves. They're often artists. They really enjoy beauty and art. They like stopping and smelling the roses. They like finding uniqueness. Type 4s are very observant of others and especially of themselves. Type 5 is the investigator. Their basic fear is of being useless, of being helpless, or being incapable. Their basic desire is to be capable and be competent. They really want to know everything, but they're not usually show-offs. They just need to know it for themselves. This is the person that always wins at trivia night. You know, they're kind of like encyclopedias of information. Type 6 is the loyalist. Their basic fear is to be without support or without information. And so their basic desire is to feel supported and feel secure. Not always, but sometimes comes across as the Debbie Downer, the worst case scenario person. These people are often the preppers or wannabe preppers. You know, if you let them loose, they'd probably have everything stocked up in their garage so that they could survive for a year because they really want to feel like they're ready for anything. They're really motivated by feeling safe. Type 7 is the enthusiast. Type 7's biggest fear is not being satisfied or being deprived of something. And their basic desire is for satisfaction and for joy, sometimes at all costs. This group manages their fears with optimism. So this person is always high energy. They're very optimistic. They're very often daredevils, or they're just not afraid to try new things. They have lots of ideas, but they have a problem sitting still, especially sitting still in anything they feel uncomfortable. This person really doesn't like being stuck, but they won't go negative on you if they feel stuck. They'll just start looking for another way to do something, and you'll hear him say, "We can do this and we can have fun while we're doing it." They're always looking for the most fun, most effective way to do something, and they're not afraid to pivot if something's not working. Type 8 is the challenger. Their basic fear is to be controlled by others or to be harmed in some way. And so their basic desire is control. They don't necessarily want to control other people. They just want to control themselves and their own destiny. And they'll sort of do whatever it takes to do that, to be in control. They're often seen as leaders. They're very direct. They don't like indecisiveness. They sort of are dismissive if people can't make up their mind, and then they just keep barreling forward. Often very witty, very smart. Apparently they had to be in control of themselves. They had to learn a lot, right? So yeah, they're often very intelligent. Type 9 is the peacemaker. Their basic fear is loss or instability, and their basic desire is really for inner peace and inner stability, peace of mind. This person is really good at reading other people. They're very intuitive. According to my research, they present like a 2, like the helper person, not as let me meet this other person's needs because that'll be great for that other person and I love them. More, let's create peace in the world. So let's make sure that everybody is satisfied so we're all at peace and there's lots of happiness. This person isn't necessarily high energy. They sort of like a slower pace. If everything is tranquil, then they can chill out. Where like a type 7, if everything's tranquil, they might start to get bored. The type 9, they're always very nice to be around because they like everything calm. Isn't this fascinating, you guys? Can't you see how everyone in your office would just really enjoy finding out their own number and then exploring what everybody else's number is? I really do stand by the fact that I think just the act of introducing the Enneagram test will be fun and sort of reduce some drama that's going on in your office. But then for those office members that take it seriously and start exploring their own personality and use this test to create awareness and compassion for themselves, and then start finding compassion for others, I really do think that it will help reduce drama in your medical practice. You know, you might even consider buying everybody little stickers for the week after you do the personality test that wear their number and their description. I know that your patients are going to see it too. Maybe it's not appropriate for every medical practice, but if it's good to have sort of conversation starters with your patients as they walk in the door, you might consider this because then it will help people learn each other's numbers, help them start to understand what motivates their coworkers. You guys have fun with the Enneagram personality test, and please comment below if you have any questions. I did sort of a crash course in Enneagram personality testing to record this video. My business partner and I took the test just for fun, not really considering I was going to share it with our community, and I loved it so much I just consumed quite a bit. In fact, I learned the most from an author that seems to be pretty established in the Enneagram world. I'll link his website below. I also really enjoy podcasts called Enneagram and Coffee. This darling Southerner named Sarah Jane, with, I'm not lying, husband named Odie. Amazing. She was so insightful and knowledgeable on the use of Enneagram in her entrepreneurial business. So if you're interested about learning more, then check out Sarah Jane's podcast. I'll link that below as well. And if you enjoyed today's YouTube video, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe and hit the bell so you're reminded every week when we upload a new video on Tuesday mornings to The Meredith Callagher Show. Have a great week. Take care. Bye.